the lockdowns, as I said, they're a new way of doing things. We know that they're very harmful. In 2019, so just before COVID, late 2019, the WHO released its pandemic influenza guidelines, where they said only in extreme conditions do you close, do you have prolonged border closures, workplace closures, etc. They strongly recommend against them because they pointed out that they can do more harm than good. We know that the numbers are pretty shocking for what has been done from these lockdowns. So we know it's estimated 140 million people or more have been added to people on the edge of starvation, and that's likely to get worse. We've damaged supply lines and malaria has gone up. So malaria, last 2020, an extra 60, 70,000 children died of malaria compared to the previous year. And much of this will be because they couldn't get to clinics when they had a fever. TB, HIV, we know will be going up. The vaccine programs for preventable childhood diseases have been severely harmed in a lot of countries. So we expect more children to die from that. Schools have been closed, which has a huge impact on the future in terms of the ability for people to get out of poverty and get their countries out of poverty. It's estimated, UNICEF, I think, estimates an extra 10 million girls will be forced into child marriage because of closure of schools and poverty. The UNICEF also, that they calculated in 2020 alone in South Asia, so India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, that area, 6 countries, about 228,000 children, infants, are thought to have died from lockdowns alone, and an extra 400,000 teenage pregnancies. So that's just in South Asia. That's just in 2020 alone from lockdowns. So extrapolate that across the world. And it's hard to see that we have not caused far more mortality from the lockdowns than from COVID itself. Even the World Bank's, or the Global Financing Facility, it's an arm of the World Bank, has estimated among women and children that probably 2 have died from lockdown for every one that died of COVID. So, we know we've done this huge harm. To their credit, UNICEF have documented this very well. Oxfam, even WHO with malaria, etc. We're documenting these harms, yet we're also in parallel pushing very rapidly these IHR amendments and this treaty, as it's called, which will make lockdowns essentially, it seems, a permanent feature of pandemic responses. So without any detailed analysis, did this really help versus harm? So we've done huge harm, and we've done it in just 1 or 2 years. If we keep doing this, this will be cumulative. Poverty is cumulative. Interrupting supply lines is cumulative harm. So we can expect, both in terms of health, in terms of women's rights, basic human rights, education, GDP of countries, which has a big impact on health, particularly in low-income countries. We can expect that we will compound this every time this happens. We're building a bureaucracy whose existence will be dependent on surveilling to try to find virus outbreaks, doing modelling, which will could suggest, and if you look at the modelling used in COVID, will suggest there'll be exponential growth, which is not really biologically plausible. And then that will be used to institute pandemics, to close borders, to do these things, because without this, this bureaucracy is, they're touting sort of $3 to $10 billion a year to fund this bureaucracy and this response. And you can't justify that money unless you're doing something. So they'll need to be declaring outbreaks and instituting these measures. So we're putting in place an extremely harmful measure without having done any serious analysis on whether it's even a good idea, was it a bad mistake, or was it overall benefit the last time we did it, which is the previous 2 years. And we're doing it to something which is not an urgent matter in historic terms, and certainly not compared to disease burden from other diseases. Even through COVID, more people die of other infectious diseases, more people die of metabolic diseases, cancer, and they die much younger on average than COVID.